Hello and welcome to this video aimed at GCSE biology students about the menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle begins when a girl reaches the age of puberty. During the menstrual cycle, the uterus or the endometrium prepares itself for implantation of a fertilized egg. If this doesn't occur, then the uterus lining will shed from the body, and that's what's actually known as menstruation or the period. On average, menstrual cycle lasts about 28 days, can be up to 35. Day one of the cycle is from the first day of bleeding, and the cycle ends just before the next menstrual period. So the interesting thing about the menstrual cycle is it's actually an interplay of hormones. It's an interplay between luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, estrogen and progesterone. And in this video, we're going to see how we can actually use and how these hormones actually interplay to allow an egg to be released and to get the endometrium ready for the implantation of a fertilized egg. The cycle itself can be divided into three phases: the follicular phase, before the egg is released, the ovulatory phase when the egg is released, and the luteal phase after the egg is released. So the follicular phase, if we begin with that's the phase that begins on the first day of bleeding. So the key aspect of this phase is the development of follicles in the ovaries. At the start of the follicular phase, the lining of the uterus is thick with fluids and nutrients intended to nourish an embryo, so a fertilized egg. If no embryo is present, estrogen and progesterone levels are low. This causes your uterus lining to shed and the menstrual bleeding occurs. The pituitary gland, which is found in the brain, increases production of a hormone called FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. And what this does is it actually increases and stimulates the growth of several follicles, which each contain an egg to develop in the ovaries. The levels of FSH hormone decreases and the follicles begin to secrete estrogen. As that happens, the follicle that develops first, so we call that dominant follicle, secretes the most amount of estrogen, and this secretion subsequently suppresses the development of other follicles, so it suppresses the amount of FSH. The follicular phase roughly lasts about 13 or 14 days, and the phase ends when the level of LH, luteinizing hormone, makes a dramatic surge, which you can see in the middle of the graph. So that then begins the ovulatory phase. So in that phase, your luteinizing hormone surged. So what that does is the level of FSH increases to a lesser extent, but you got the LH quite high. And what this does is it actually causes a dominant follicle, along with the increased pressure, causes that follicle to rupture and the egg to be released. That's your ovulation. So as the egg then travels into the fallopian tube, it's ready for fertilization. The egg can survive about 12 to 24 hours after ovulation. Okay, the LH surge, it can be measured to determine how and when a woman is fertile. So around 12 to 24 hours after the egg's released, that's when the woman is most fertile. This phase usually lasts about 16 to 32 hours and ends when the egg's released. Then you begin the luteal phase. So this is after ovulation, lasts about 14 days and ends just before the menstrual period, unless fertilization occurs. So in this phase, the egg travels along the fallopian tube by wave-like motions, which are caused by finger-like projections in the walls of the fallopian tube. The remainder of the ruptured follicle and ovary closes after releasing the egg and forms a structure called a corpus luteum. The corpus luteum literally means yellow body, because that's what it looks like. This secretes large quantities of progesterone and estrogen and prepares the uterus for fertilization. So progesterone causes the endometrium to really thicken and fills with fluid and nutrients to nourish the potential embryo. It also causes mucus in the cervix to thicken so that sperm and bacteria are less likely to enter the uterus. The progesterone also causes your body temperature to decrease slightly during the luteal phase and remains elevated until your menstrual period begins. This increase is used by doctors often to estimate whether ovulation has occurred or not. And due to your levels of hormones, your luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone levels have fallen back to low and steady levels. So estrogen levels after this fall, but rises due to continuation of secretion of estrogen and progesterone by the corpus luteum. The increase in estrogen and progesterone levels causes milk ducts in the breasts to dilate. In turn, the breasts sometimes swell and become tender. So if the egg is not fertilized though, the corpus luteum shrinks and begins to degenerate after about 14 days. So the corpus luteum actually, you can almost say, is designed to die after 14 days. So if that egg is not been fertilized, the unfertilized egg also dies and passes out the uterus through menstrual bleeding. Estrogen and progesterone levels fall, bleeding starts, and the uterine lining is shed. And so a new menstrual cycle begins. If the egg is fertilized, however, Then the embryo will start to produce a hormone called human chronic gonadotrophin, HCG. This is what's used in pregnancy tests. This hormone, HCG, actually rescues the corpus luteum, allows it to continue secreting progesterone and estrogen until your growing fetus is big enough to produce its own hormones. So I hope that helps with a general overview of the menstrual cycle. As always, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. If not, thank you for watching.